All right, James, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Tony, how are you?
Good. It's great to see you. I'm glad we're getting the opportunity to have this discussion in your presentation today. So people are popping on right now, but we will get started with this. I just want to let everybody know that are in attendance today. Make sure if you have any questions whatsoever, put it in the chat. We will make sure we bring those questions up throughout the presentation that James has for us today. So I'm excited about having James, CEO and president of Northwest Partitions. His family and them, they've been in the contracting business, wall and ceiling business since 1982. And I think you're going to find out with what James has put together here with Next Win, it really came about from solving issues that they were dealing with themselves in the industry. So it is my pleasure to have him here today. So, James, let's start off. You know, why why did you develop this Next Win? Give us a little history of that, and when did you develop it, and kind of what things were you looking to take care of?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me, Tony, and welcome everyone. So Next Win was really born out of a need at Northwest Partitions. I was walking around the office and I was noticing the project coordinator. Every time I walked by him, he was digging through emails, he was flagging them, he was categorizing them, he was forwarding them and trying to sort through all of the noise and then transfer all of that information manually into spreadsheets so that we could track our bid and our bid opportunities. And it was, I mean, that he was spending so much of his day doing that. And I got to thinking, I'm like, why in the world are we doing this manually this day and age? There has to be a better way. So we started working internally on some AI ways of tackling this. And really, like, initially it was just an automated spreadsheet that could read some emails and populate a spreadsheet. And I was showing it to some of my colleagues in the industry, and they're like, "Man, that's pretty interesting. We deal with the same challenges. We'd love to have something like that." And so from that initial like automated spreadsheet work, we ended up starting a separate company called NextWin, and my co-founder and I have been building it since. And it's no longer an automated spreadsheet. It's a full blown AI bid and sales management platform that not only Northwest Partitions is using now, but a number of other commercial subcontractors across the country. And in
So
terms of,
go
oh,
ahead. No, keep going, please.
and in terms of when we started it, this we really started late 2025 with the idea and that initial kind of concept beta, and then the actual NextWin platform really came to life in early 2026. So we're still very early in the journey, but we've been iterating and constantly updating and enhancing and improving the platform based on our initial customer feedback. So it's been really fun and rewarding so far.
Yeah, and I know you're going to start off here with why subcontractors lose work that they should have won. Was the original concept there is that we don't want to bid as much because our percentages were low, or was it that we could, as an organization, we just want to take on more work and bring in more people and raise our I guess our output?
Yeah, it's really a little bit of all of the above. I mean, at the end of the day, there's only so much estimating resources every company has. And so we want to make sure we're deploying our estimating talent and time on projects and with GCs that make sense with the type of work we look at, different risk profiles, and with clients that we have the best odds of winning the work with. So, if you don't measure it, it's hard to manage it. So having a good system and process in place allows you to really have a kind of a 360 view of your bid and sales. And that allows you to make really good go, no go decisions and pursue those opportunities that are the best fit with the highest odds of landing those projects.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to you getting into this insurance. So I'll turn it over to you here, sir, and I'll bring up any questions or comments as we go through it.
Sounds good, Tony. So we're all wondering, like, why do capable subcontractors lose work they should have won? So at the end of this session, you'll hopefully be able to answer that question, as well as walk away with the 6 steps and kind of a best practice bid and sales management process, and then the 4 habits that make that process repeatable. So today is really intended to be a practical conversation, not a product pitch. That said, we will be illustrating some real life examples using the Next Win platform just to show folks how that can really work in the real world. So with that, subcontractors and estimators especially are really being asked to do more and more with fewer and fewer resources these days. The estimator's primary job is to do the takeoff and price the work, but there's so much other noise and chaos right now that we have to figure out how to make that estimator's job more efficient. They're already dealing with imperfect construction documents and doing their best to make heads and tails of what the intention was while they're putting these estimates together. The inboxes are just constantly being hit with new emails for invitations to bid, addenda, RFIs, updates. It's just like nonstop. It's kind of like whack-a-mole, I feel like, with the email inbox these days. And of course, the estimator has to hit all of their deadlines. They have to make it to their job walks. They're going to have internal bid reviews, go, no-go sessions, answer those internal questions to figure out if a pursuit is a good pursuit. And then probably the most important part of the sales process that often gets overlooked or doesn't occur because estimators are so busy is that client follow-up. Once you've submitted that bid, ensuring you're following up on that proposal and working that bid through all the way to a final outcome, which is hopefully winning the project. So the goal is really just to kind of clear that administrative noise so the estimators can really focus on what's important, the pricing, the scope review, risk analysis, and project strategy. So we've built a repeatable sales process. It's really 6 basic steps, if you will. Step 1, that's capturing the invitation to bid. And you want to capture it in all of your invitations in one location in a really easy to understand and manageable location. Once you have those invitations captured, you need to qualify. You need to figure out, is the project in the geographic region that your company is best suited to work in? Is it for a general contractor that you typically win work with or one year you want to pursue? Is the project a good fit? Of course, then you have to put together the estimate, and Next Win is not estimating software. We sit in front of your estimate, and then we sit after your estimate. So estimating teams are still using the estimating software platforms that they're accustomed to always using. As I mentioned a moment ago, follow-up. Once that estimate goes out the door, it's super important to stay on top of that, be a resource for the general contractor or the owner that you've submitted your bid to. Follow that up to either won or lost, and then you need to record that outcome and memorialize that so that you can learn from your wins and losses with different GCs, different project types, and then you're going to review that in the future. You're going to be able to use those analytics to figure out where your company hits best and what projects are going to make the most sense.
James, I'd like to go back with something you said because I think it's really interesting in our industry because a lot of people talk about, I've been using this software for my estimating for years. And so the idea that this is not to replace that, it's on the front end and the back end. I know a little bit about this from talking to you, and I've looked into it, Matt. This seems to be more a organizing / communication / sales tool to be able to enhance what you're already working on to save you time, effort, and money to be able to possibly win more jobs or even do more at the same percentage. Is that fair for the understanding?
Yeah, I think that's a good summation of what it is. I mean, it's kind of like a smart bid board meets a CRM built for subcontractors, and they mesh together, and it's really intended to just consolidate all of the information that's required to bid the project and sell the project into one location. So you've got really good insight into that. You're not spending your time searching through email threads or updating spreadsheets to find different bid dates. And then again, you've got a good history of what you're winning and what you're losing. You can run good analytics on it.
Yeah, and over the years, and before we got on, I was telling you about it. I was in the contractor's office earlier this week, and they are actually redoing their structural communications inside, because while they're a very large company, for years they've had communication breakdown between the estimating department and the project management department. So they're actually trying to figure out how to get more of a cohesive environment for everybody. And this is actually kind of helps you do that, correct?
Yeah, that handoff, once you've won the project, that handoff from estimating to project management or operations is super important. And a big part of that handoff is helping the project management team understand kind of what was in the estimate. How did we get to that point? How did we sell the job that way? And so having all of the records for that process in a system really helps facilitate that handoff to the operations team.
Awesome, thanks.
And then as part of this process, it's important that really every opportunity has an owner. If someone needs to be assigned to follow through on that process, often in the estimating world, it's going to fall under the estimator. We need to know what action is next. Are we in the estimating phase, or are we in the bid submitted phase, or are we following up, or are we finally in the awarded phase? And then all those actions need a due date. If there's not a due date, things slide. We seem to prioritize what date is next in front of us. So having a good system and process will make sure there is a date. And then there needs to be a visible outcome. Again, at the end of the day, there's usually a terminal outcome. You won the project or you lost it. But if you're missing that information, that opportunity is at risk of not either being bid or not being won. So, really step one is capturing and organizing all of the information that's coming in on those invitations to bid. I know at our company, we're getting invitations to bid left and right. We end up, I think, like 300 to 500 invitation to bid emails coming in each week. Now, those are not all unique opportunities, but general contractors are blasting these invites out to numerous people within our company, and then there's follow-ups. So with NextWin and other platforms out there, I suppose, you can capture that invite and put all of that information into one location, and it's done automatically. So you're not relying on an estimator or a project coordinator to go in and manually update a spreadsheet with all of the records for that project. So you want a system in place that you can automatically capture the invitation to bid, as well as any relevant information, whether it be the bid due date, job walk date, links to plans, which general contractors requested it. And also, as a subcontractor, we're often sending multiple bids on the same project. There may be a number of GCs competing for one project. And in a system like NextWin, it's going to consolidate all of those general contractor requests under that project. So you have all of that information in the high-level project, and you can drill in to see which general contractors are actually pursuing that, and then you're able to track your results by general contractor.
So James, when emails are coming in from potential projects, whether it's direct from an owner or from GCs or whatever it is, are they sending into the emails that you already have, and then they're filtering in this? How a little bit, without getting too much into the weeds, just a little understanding of how that is, bringing that in and separating. I know using the AI tools, but maybe just a little bit of information on that.
Yeah, there's a couple ways to handle it. It's kind of really a business process on how each company prefers, but companies are typically they'll have like an internal centralized inbox for bids or estimates. So bids at company XYZ. Anytime a general contractor is sending an invitation, they'll send it directly to that internal inbox. Or if they send it to individuals within a company, those individuals forward it to the internal estimating or bid inbox at their company. And from there, a system like NextWin automatically grabs the email, it reads it, and it extracts all of the relevant information. So it doesn't have to be in a specific format. Whether you're getting your invites from a Building Connected, SmartBid, just a generic email with a Dropbox link, system like NextWin will read that, and it'll parse it and pull all of the relevant data out and automatically fill in the dashboard and the project details right in NextWin. So it's ready to be reviewed and action can be taken by your team.
So if it's a new project, it'll read that and set up, in essence, a new file. If it's already a file that's been set up, it'll go in and see whatever the new data, whatever new information's coming in, it'll put that into the file with it. Okay.
Exactly. In fact, if we just zoom in here just for a moment, this is just a real high level overview. So in this case, each of these represents a project. And these are all expandable, and it will list the individual bid packages as well as the general contractors that have requested the bids for this project. And I'll drill into one of these a little bit later, but again, it gives you a real quick snapshot of the projects, due dates, branches, and a number of other things. So you can quickly see what you're working on. And then back to that initial email coming in, a good system is gonna pull that data out of that email for you and populate your system, both at a high level as well as more of a granular level by client. So it's gonna pull out the name of the GC, the contact at the GC, their phone number and email, what trade you may be proposing on, of course, the name of the project. Dates that are important, bid date and time. Is there a job lot? What date and time is that? When will the project start? It's nice to have that information when you're doing your initial go, no go to make sure the project fits within your backlog and your other manpower constraints, or when you're slow or when maybe you're not slow. And you want to know what needs to happen next. Who is assigned? What stage is it in? When is it time to follow up? And then it's really nice when you start to get some probability and win odds that you can quickly see in your system. In NextWin, for example, once you bid to a general contractor enough times, it starts to learn which general contractors do you win more work with, which ones do you not win more work with. It's actually pretty interesting. We all kind of think we know who our best clients are. And what I've actually found is the data doesn't necessarily align with that. We find sometimes that the companies that send us the most bid invites, or the companies that our estimators speak with the most pre-bid, sometimes feel like our best clients, but we may not win as much work with those folks. So this is a system like this is nice because it really shines the light on who you really win work with and who you just bid work to.
Yeah, James, we have a question about the bid reports. I know we'll talk about reports in here, but can you set this up? The question is, does it generate bid reports monthly, quarterly, annual basis? Is that all stuff you can set up inside there depending on what you want what your operation is specifically doing?
Yeah, a few slides in here. I have a screenshot of the analytics, but to answer that high level, there's so much data that you can extract, and analytics you can drill into. You can drill into it by specific date ranges or last quarter or last 7 days. You can sort and filter by trade, estimator, GCs, what stage the project is in. So I'll show an example of just part of what that looks like when we get a little further.
Okay, another question, and if you're comfortable sharing this, but you guys do a lot of work with, with your company, and you had made the comment that you actually may not know exactly who's your best customers. When you started using the software and started looking at these reports and used it for a while, was there anything other than who your customer was that you guys got so much information out and you said, "Well, we would have never known that without this information"? Maybe one high level thing or something that helped you guys solve?
Yeah, I mean, I learn something new every time I drill into here and I look up a specific client or I look at an opportunity. I guess one thing that was interesting is we've found in our company that we're more successful on certain scopes with certain GCs. So it's not necessarily GCA we have a really high win rate with. It's GCA we have a really high win rate from our paint department, but our drywall department has a low win rate. So it's not even like company wide. It's like company and trade. So that was kind of eye opening.
Good stuff. Thank you.
And then in terms of the complete record, you also want to be able to quickly be able to pull up your proposal, bid results, all of that additional information, which I don't have on this screenshot here, but in NextWin, if you can scroll down and it's going to list, you have a whole bunch of additional record information right in this screenshot in one place. So it really helps when you're to the point of trying to sell the job and you're on the phone with your client. You can quickly pull up some pertinent bid information or maybe bid results you received from another GC.
Okay, another question is when so the emails are coming in, they're getting captured. When it is assigned to somebody in the organization and they are now communicating that specific person within your organization, are they emailing through this tool, or are they emailing through their Outlook and then it's just capturing that to the project? How does the outgoing communication work?
So the outbound communication is currently outside of NextWin. You would still use your normal email client. That said, any emails that are inbound to NextWin, we do save a record of that. So for instance, when you're on this project, this GC bid page here, if you scroll down, you're able to pull up every email that this GC has sent for this project. So it's quick and it organizes all of those generic inbound, but the individual outbound, you do send from your typical email client, whether that's Outlook or if you're using Gmail. We do have a way to generate the content for some of your follow-up emails using AI, and I'll show you that here in a moment.
Okay.
Good question. We talked earlier about there's only a finite amount of time for estimating, so it's not just a matter of bid more necessarily. It's really bidding smarter, and to bid smarter, you need to know what projects do you have the best odds of winning. What GCs are your best GCs? So you need to qualify your opportunities early. That's a big part. The last thing you want to do is have your estimator spend a bunch of time doing a takeoff and putting a bid together, and then leadership comes in and says, we don't want to pursue that. That's not a good client. So making sure you're ranking your clients is really helpful. You may have certain clients that you always want to bid. So you want to make sure those opportunities are flagged. So your estimating teams are definitely getting those bids out the door. And you can do that a number of ways. In NextWin, for example, again, if I zoom in here, we can see in this example, and just by the way, these examples they're all fictitious examples. But that said, we can see quickly that Horizon Retail is a tier 1 client. We can see that we've decided not to bid on the acoustical ceilings on this project. We can see we have strong odds on the drywall bid. In this case, we've won 5 of 5 drywall pursuits. And we're now in the follow-up stage, and a proposal has been submitted. And then we just have typical odds on the painting. But having that information is helpful. And in our system at NextWin, we're going to show that information in line in the dashboard for each of these bid opportunities. And we also will take all of the bid information, and it's visible in a client dashboard. So for every client in the system, and by the way, you don't have to upload the names of the clients. It just extracts those and it builds your client list from all of the inbound emails. But it's going to give you some overall analytics for that client. You can look at your typical hit rate, what you won, when they last contacted you, and then some of your odds. In the case of NextWin, the odds and the predictability get better and better as you have more data in the system. You have more wins and losses. It begins to get smarter and smarter. So of course we talked about estimating that occurs outside of the system, but estimating is an important part of this overall process in the bid and sales management. So it's important you assign that estimator early, and having information visible in a dashboard as well as a calendar that syncs with that dashboard really allows individual estimators as well as leadership the ability to see what projects are out in front of you, what stage they're in, who's pursuing them. It's really helpful when you're running a bid meeting. You can decide on the fly who you're going to assign to specific projects. It also helps you make sure you're not overburdening certain estimators or underutilizing others. So seeing that in graphic representation of who's pursuing which projects is really helpful. And then of course it protects those deadlines. Having that information in a synced calendar ensures you know when the job block is or when the bid date is, and you're able to stay on top of that. I've heard this too many times in my career to count, but an estimator gets the bid out the door and they say, phew, I'm done, finished. And I think, yeah, you're finished with part of the process. You got the bid out the door. You did the time consuming part, but the next part is not just waiting and hoping a contract shows up. It's taking it to the finish line, the follow up. And I get it. Estimators are busy. They're being pulled in all directions, and they're trying to get those bids out the door. But it's really important that you have a process in place for that follow up. And it can vary depending on the type of project, the delivery method, how many GCs bid it, if it's design build or a public works project. But in general, my rule of thumb is, about 2 days after I send a bid, I'm going to reach out to the general contractor and just confirm they received it. This day and age, we find out, we send a bid and it gets sent to someone at the GC, but they're no longer handling the bid analysis, and they didn't even forward it on. Or you uploaded it to a website and the person that's actually receiving those didn't get it. So you don't want to throw out all of your hard estimating work. So you want to follow up, make sure they got it, and be a resource initially. In the first 2 days, I'm not calling to ask for bid results generally. I'm calling to see if did they get it and do they need something else from me. Then my next touch point is about a week later. And at that point, I'm asking some more questions, like asking the general contractor, did they receive the project? Or sorry, did they win the project? What is their timing for reviewing our scope? Do they have any scope questions I can help them out with right now? And do they need me to price something else? So again, I try not just to ask, but I try and give. And I try and be that partner and build that trust and rapport with the GC. And then I'm just going to stay in touch with them every other week or so until we get some type of finality. We won the project or we lost it. And because it can be a time-consuming process, and it's easy to kind of forget the follow-up. If you don't have a good system in place, those often fall by the wayside, and we just assume that the contract didn't show up, so we didn't get the job. And I can tell you from my experience, you don't always have to be low to get the job. But you have to follow up. If you follow up, you're able to answer questions the GC has. You can explain your proposal. You can explain gaps or why you really are the best value, even though you're not the lowest. And you're able to bring projects in that way. So that follow-up is so important. So in NextWin, we've built follow-up and notifications into a few different areas. We have notifications in the dashboard that are both kind of in line with the project, as well as like notification bell at the top. But we just recently added a follow-ups page all alone. And this follow-up here, if I zoom in, this will actually prioritize your follow-ups. The system's going to look at bid value, how many days it's been outstanding, win rates and probability. It's going to put your most important follow-ups at the top. Estimators are busy. They can at least start at the most important ones and hopefully work their way down the list. And you can quickly note that you followed up. You can snooze it. You can mark it won or lost. You can go directly to the bid opportunity itself to see more information on the project. And you can also generate an email right in the system here. With one click, you click generate, and it's going to create that follow-up email for you that you can send to the client. And then lastly, just marking it won or lost, it kind of clears the clutter, so you're not tracking 100 projects that you've really lost that you just never got on. You never called out to specifically find that out. And then that final step is really reviewing and recording the outcomes. So the estimators know, so management knows, leadership, so they know where you're focusing your estimating resources and ensuring that you're focusing those in the right place. At the end of the day, you should know which GCs are actually awarding you work versus which GCs are just running you through bid exercises, or where does your pipeline get stuck? Once you submit a bid, are you advancing it and following up and getting it to one, or is everything get into the follow-up stage and does it just sit there? We can see that in a system like NextWin. You can also see who's overloaded, who are you putting too much bidding on, or who's underutilized, who's not bidding enough, or which branches are winning more, which trades are you landing more work with, and most importantly, what should you pursue next, and not just like with a gut intuition, but based on the data, what makes the most sense to pursue. And I mean, to me, some of the real basic, like minimal analytics you want to track in your platforms is of course you want to know what you've been awarded. That's important. I want to track my bid volume. That's going to help me understand my hit rate and my win rate. But I also want to track my budget volume. I know at least in the Pacific Northwest, and I imagine across the country, subs are being asked to provide a lot of budgeting support to GCs, and we do it. I call it free con. We do this effort for the GCs, but I want to track all that budgeting effort so I can see if I'm really getting any ROI on that down the road. I mean, if I have a GC that I do a ton of budgeting for, but I don't win any work with them, I'm going to rethink, like, does it make sense to have my estimators provide this budget, or should they work on either budgeting for someone else or work on a project they have a really good shot of landing. And I want to see of course, my hit rate, my win rate, trends for awarded, for bid volume. And then you can't see further down, but there's a lot of additional analytics and features you can use to sort by, whether it's GC, trade, branch, and so on and so forth. And then the final bit is really those 4 habits that make this process repeatable. Step 1, you need to capture all of the information. Hopefully you're not doing it manually this day and age. You want to get that information captured and all of it in one place, so it's easy to know what's bidding, where the documentation is. And then you're gonna make that no-go decision. Really, you want to qualify that opportunity before you deploy your limited estimating resources to go after that project. Once you've sent that bid out, don't tell me you're done. Do your follow-up. Make sure you're staying on top of that to get the project across the finish line. Then that last step is recording the outcome. That allows you to really know, using data, where you're successful and where you're not. With that, I have a couple of free tools or free write-ups that I'm happy to share with anyone afterwards. We have a kind of a commercial subcontractor sales process SOP, as well as a sales process scorecard for self-assessment of a company. So if anyone's interested in that, just shoot me an email at james@getnextwin.com, and I'm happy to send that your way. And then if anyone has any questions about bid and sales management, happy to get on a call to talk through best practices or chat on that. And then lastly, if you're curious about NextWin, happy to answer any of those questions or get on a call for that as well. So with that, appreciate everyone listening here. And Tony, thank you for inviting me on. I'd open it to any questions as well.
Yeah, we got a couple. And before we get into that, though, James is, as he just said, James at getnextwin.com. And we will make sure we will send the presentation out to everybody that is on here, and it'll be posted through FCA and many of our different platforms. So you'll be able to get the information that you're looking for. James, one of the questions was, you've got other people, quite a few people using this around the country right now. What kind of percentage increase have you guys seen that, or gotten any feedback from the different companies of maybe some people are seeing a larger percent increase in utilizing this tool? Do you have any feedback yet from any of that?
Do you mean like
from
percentage increase?
I'm sorry, from a bid rate process. Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head what if they've seen an increase in bid rate. I don't have their data from before they started using, so I don't know that. I do know that interestingly enough, we've seen this work really well for like the solopreneur, the one-man estimating team, all the way up to so far companies with about 15 estimators that are managing a lot of bid volume. So it seems to work kind of for a large segment of the subcontracting population. Some of the feedback has been, wow, our bid meeting is now 30 minutes. I don't have to do any prep for it. I just open NextWin and we're off and running. To leadership loves the analytics, because we can always see, what projects we're pursuing and what stage they're in along the way, and again where we're winning and losing, so they can deploy the resources.
Right. And then another question we've got was about the connecting to Cloud or Copilot. as an AI platform, is that all built within the system, or will a contractor need to belong to one of those other platforms to use the software?
It's all self-contained in NextWin, so there's no additional subscriptions or other connections you need for it to work.
Okay. I think that is what we've got here from everybody, James. Awesome. Yep. Looks like we've covered everything. So well done. Very, very intriguing. And we will make sure, again, anybody needs to get or wants to get a hold of James. Also at your nextgenwin.com at your website, right? I went on there and they can actually get a hold of you, request information, and probably set up a demo or whatever through that information too, or just reach out to you. I'm sure people would like to know pricing and those kind of things, and those are always individually depending on the size of the contract or what they're doing with it and stuff like that. So encourage everybody to get with James and get more information from him. Other than that, we will make sure the material is available again through our platforms. And James, thanks. Appreciate your support with FCA. Appreciate your development of what you've done here, because it sounds like it's really solving some issues for contractors when it comes to estimating that. So we appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks again for having me on, Tony. This was a fun conversation, and building NextWin has been fun too. It's totally different than construction, so it's been cool to do something new and also help not only Northwest Partitions but a lot of my colleagues and peers around the country manage this process and automate it. So thanks again for having me.
Yeah, excellent. We appreciate you. Take care. I'll be in touch.
Okay, take care.
Yeah, we'll see you.